Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everybody. So today we are going to continue the first unit of the course. This lecture is asynchronous, which means it is recorded. You can listen to the lecture later on. Last thing we talked about in the last lecture is verb be. So I told you that verb be is one of the basic verbs of English. The infinitive is be. The present the present of the verb is are, and the past is was and were. The past participle is been. So this is the last point we were talking about. We stopped here. And here we have examples. Am Sam, I am Sam. I told you that this am, the first one, is the same as the second one, but this one is an abbreviation. So this is the same as this one, but this is the short form. We just, dropped the A and put an apostrophe instead of it. Same with R. So R, this is the full form, and this is the short form of R. And here this is the full form of S, and this is the short form. And these are questions. As for sentences, I told you that am, is, are come after the subject. The subject could be a noun like Michael, John, James, or a pronoun, the 7 pronouns that we talked about last time. They are called subject pronouns because they replace pronouns, which are I, they, he, we, you, she, it. They are 7 pronouns. Now we want to do this exercise about this point. Complete this email with am, is, are, there, or our, or my. So we have already talked about am, is, are. We said that they are verb be. As for their, our, my, these are possessive pronouns. You must have studied them before. So if you want to something that belongs to a group of people, you say their. This is the possessive version of they. So they is the subject pronoun. There is the possessive pronoun. Both of them are pronouns, which means ضمائر. Our. This is the possessive version of we. And my. If you want to talk about something that belongs to you, you use the pronoun my. So this is my book, my table, my pen, and so on. Now we want to complete this exercise. We want to fill in these spaces with one of these words. Because you are not present here, you are just watching, so I'll do it myself. My name, Jessica. So the appropriate word here is as. It is as. Martin and I, the IT support team. So here the appropriate word is are, because Martin and I, 2 people. The IT support team members then number 3, Muhammad al-Banawi. So the appropriate word here is I am. Because he is introducing himself. And we said last time, if you want to introduce yourself, you can say, I am so and so. Or sorry, here it is they are. So this one is so the IT support team members, they are Muhammad al-Banawi, Ali Ibrahim, and Godio Petri. Muhammad, what do you think? Is singular, مفرد. Our network administrator. Ali and Godio, they are two people, so plural. We will use are. System maintenance officers. So you talk about them, so their job, because they are a group of people, you will use plural possessive pronoun. Is to contact number is to keep our system going. And here, my job, he's talking about himself, my job. Contact number is, so my contact number is okay. I'm sorry. I hope that this point clear. As I've told you, this is a very important point and one of the most important grammars of English. And here in this email, you will find some jobs related to IT. For example, IT support team, network administrator, system maintenance officer. So try to learn these names of jobs. Now we will move to another point. As I've told you, we are not going to cover everything in the book. We just focus in the important points. Jobs in IT. So this is a very important point actually. You need to learn some of the names of jobs in IT field. يعني مسميات لوظائف في مجال تقنية المعلومات. So, what do you think? Jobs like what? Like the ones that we have just talked about. There are also other jobs that we will find out in this paragraph. Read this team introduction, complete the description 1-4 with the IT jobs. So this is a team. This is a team of people who are working in the field of IT. And this lady, his name is Sylvia. She is introducing herself and introducing the whole team to you. Hi, I'm Sylvia. I create usernames and passwords and I set firewalls. This is Isabel. Her job is to plan and design the network. And this is Andrew. His job is to make sure all of the computers work properly. Finally, Mark and Latika, their area is data processing. We all work for the university. Our offices are in Building 8. So you will notice that she has talked about some, jobs related to IT. And now I will underline these jobs. So actually the jobs are here. You can find them here. Here we have 4 jobs: data analyst, database analyst, IT support officer, network administrator, network architect. And now you are supposed to fill in these places with the appropriate job of the person, and you will take the answer from here, from this short paragraph. So Sylvia said, I create usernames and passwords and I set firewalls. So what do you think her job is? Actually, her job is a network administrator. So network. It is this one. All right, so I'll write numbers. That's easier. So this is number 1. As for Isabel, her job is to plan and design the network. So what do you think? Which one of these 3? We are left with the 3: database analyst, IT support officer, or network architect. Well, actually, she is this one. Andrew is an, I think even if you don't reread the paragraph, since there is an, so you are going to start a job that starts with a vowel sound, which is IT support officer. We are left with this one, which is normally for Mark and Latika, which is database analyst, but we have to add S here because they are 2 people, so we add plural S. Because here they said that Mark and Latika, their area is data processing, and we all work for the university. Here we have another important grammar rule. We are still dealing with the present simple tense. Actually, the present simple is one of the most important tenses of English, which means al-mudara. But I think you all know that there is past, present, and future tenses. These are the 3 main tenses of English: ماضي، مضارع، مستقبل. But speaking of the present tense, there is not only simple present, there is present progressive, present perfect progressive. And now we will be talking about present simple, which means المضارع البسيط. There are actually several rules of grammar in English and tenses as well. So as I've told you, speaking of the present alone, there are 4 types of present. So when should you use this one? When should you use that? When should you use the present simple, present progressive, present perfect? You have to learn the appropriate uses of each tense. So we use the present simple to talk about routines and things that are permanent or happen all the time. So when you want to talk about routine, something routine يعني عمل روتيني or something regular that occurs, for instance, on a regular basis, every day, all the time. Let's take examples. For example, I get up at 7 o'clock. Every day I get up 7 o'clock to go to work or to study. I go to bed at 11 p.m., for example. I eat my breakfast, for example, at 8 o'clock. So these are examples of routine actions. Or if you want to talk about some scientific facts, حقائق علمية. For example, the sun shines every morning. الشمس تشرق كل صباح. So this is a fact, حقيقة علمية فلكية كونية. So in this case, you use the present simple for something permanent, مستمر, دائم, ثابت. Okay? And let me show you this on a whiteboard. So, we will take an example of a sentence in the present simple. She goes to school every day. She, let's say, eats breakfast at 8 o'clock, for example. These are just examples. The sun shines every morning. So if you look at the sentence, she goes to school every day, you will notice that there is what es added to the verb. Why? Because this is present simple. And she eats breakfast. Here we have s added to the verb. Here we have s. So these are examples of sentences in the present simple. If you look at these, you will find that they talk about either routine or about facts. So I do this and this at this time, or every day, or every month, or so this is something routine. If you talk about fact, scientific, for example, related to sun, planets, or you can say water boils at 100 degrees centigrade. So this is regarding the use of present simple. But what is the rule? There is a general rule that you can follow. We can say that the rule of the present simple is subject plus V. That's it. So this is the rule. But the V has two shapes. Either in the infinitive, which means with no S, ES, so no S, no ES, when it is plural, or with I, the pronoun I. So with the pronoun I, you don't say goes, you say I go to school. For example, if we have I here, it would be what? Go, not goes, with no es here. Or plural, whether plural it is noun or pronoun. Kate and Michael, for example, are they? Are you? And the other form of the verb is with s or es. Like these examples: eats, shines, goes, when the subject is singular. Singular noun or pronoun. What does that mean? Singular noun like Bill, Joe, or he, she, it. The singular pronouns, which are he, she, it. I hope that this point is clear. So this is regarding the form of sentences in the present simple. Now we will see how questions look like in the present simple. Let us take another example. She reads a book. As for questions, a general rule, there are actually two types of questions. Questions in English, this is a general rule. There are yes, no questions. This Q is the abbreviation of questions. And there are also WH questions. Yes, no questions are questions that start with do and does. This is for the present simple. So they require an answer with yes or no. So when you ask a question starting with do or does, the answer must be either yes or no. But the other type of questions, which is WH question, they don't start with do or does, but with question words. What are question words? Like but, when, why, where, who. Also, we have which, how, So these words. The answer for these questions is not yes or no. You are going to give it information. So if you look at the word what, it is usually used to ask about things. What? It is usually used to ask about things. When is used to ask about time. Why is used to ask about reason. Where is used to ask about place. Who is used to ask about person. And which is about choice. How about الكيفية. So here we have a sentence. This sentence is present simple. We want to ask about what she reads. We want to ask about this thing. So how the question will look like? So I write the question here. It will be, so book, it is a thing. So which one of these question words we will be using? It is what? So the question will be, what does she read? Question mark. So we use does to form a question. And let me give you a formula here. If you want to form yes no question, let's give me a simple formula. So you will start first with WH word. You can follow this order. Then auxiliary. Then subject. Then main verb. Then optional C completion. So if there is a completion here, like she reads a book every day, so every day here is C in this case. And it is between round brackets because it is optional, it's not always there. So you can follow this rule in order to form yes/no question. And from where do we get this does? Because there is S here in the verb. So there is S. When there is S, we use does as an auxiliary. The auxiliary in the present simple is two things, either do or does. But if the subject here is they, so the question would be, what do they read, rather than she. I hope that this point is clear. Now let us take an example of this type of questions. Yes/no questions. Let me ask a question about this sentence. She reads a book. So I can ask, does she read a book? Does she read a book? The answer will be either yes, she does, or no, she doesn't. All right? But if the sentence is, they read a book, we would say, do they read a book? Yes, they do, or no, they don't. All right? You must have studied this before in high school or intermediate school. So this is just a revision. This is the present simple in sentences and in questions. And remember, when there is does in the question, you don't put s in the verb here. So you'll notice that we have omitted the s here because there is does. And here also, does she read without s? I hope this point is clear. And here in the book, we have more examples. So we are on this page. And I was explaining this rule. So here we have some examples. This is an explanation of when to use the present simple. And here we have some examples. What do you do? So notice that he has used present simple to ask about job. So when you want to ask someone about his job and what is he working, you say, what do you do? I am a programmer. And this is another job that is related to IT. IT, this is a very important abbreviation. IT means information technology. I stands for information, T for technology. What does she do? She is a developer. Developer, this is another job related to IT. So look at the form of the question. Here we have do. Why? Because the subject here is what? The subject is you. So you don't use does, but you do use do instead. And here does is used because the subject is she. She is a developer, single. Where does she work? Here, where does she work? Where asks about place. Does is used because the subject is she. And work here, it is with no s. If it is a sentence, there will be an s. So this is a sentence. The answer, she works. So you'll find that there is s. Why? Because there is does in the question, and this is a present simple. For IBM in Poland. IBM, I think you all know IBM. This is a huge computer company. She doesn't work in Estonia. This is a sentence, but it is a negative sentence. So sentences can be either a positive or negative. مثبتة أو منفية. This sentence is negative. There is negation, not. She does not. So if you want to change a sentence in the present simple from positive to negative, you simply add not. So she works blah blah blah. It will be what? It will be she does not work. And if it is plural, they work, it will be what they don't work. This is if you want to change into negative. Where do they work? They work for Siemens in Egypt. Siemens, this is another mobile and technology company. And if you want to explain where do you work, you say I work for. You say work for, use the preposition for. I work for such and such company, for such and such school, for such and such corporation, university, and so on. Last question, do you work in IT? Yes, I do, or no, I don't. So this is the yes, no question that I have just explained to you. So you start with do if the subject is plural or pronoun you and I. Let's now move on to another point. Work in pairs, ask and answer questions about Carl, Hibe, and Uject. Example, what does Carl do? And so on. Try to practice this on your own. And this point number 7, this is a very important point. What's your dream job? Write a job description for the job. So this unit is basically about talking about jobs and mostly jobs related to IT and to technology, to computer and these sorts of things. So you want to talk about your job. I want you to complete this exercise. Write a job description for the job of your choice. This will be your homework. This is homework. I'll send you this task on Blackboard and I want you to complete it. But now I'll give you an example. An example of a job, your dream job, for example, is, let's say, web page designer. Page designer. A company to work for, you work, for example, IBM, or use any company of your choice. You can say, for example, for Google. You can say, for example, for Dell, or any other. You can say for Ministry of Education. For example, Qasim University. So you name any institution or company. So your dream job is a web page designer. What are your responsibility if you work as a web page designer? I'm giving you an example, but you still can use other jobs. You can say your responsibility is design pages normally, is to create websites, is to create graphics, or build content for the website, and so on. So these are some of the responsibilities which are related to this job. So your task here is to choose a job that is related to your specialization. Let's say, for example, your specialization is information technology. So what's your dream job? Programmer, developer, designer, architect. So you can use one of these jobs. So talk generally about your dream job. يعني وظيفة أحلامك. So you say the title of the job and the company or institution you work for. For example, IBM, for example, Apple, Ministry of Education, Qasim University, such and such, company or institution. And then list the responsibility that related to this job. So working in this job, what you are supposed to do? What job do you do? So I'll send you this as a task that you have to complete in Blackboard. And your answers don't need to be, true. You can use your imagination. يعني إجاباتك مو لازم تكون واقعية صحيحة. استخدم خيالك، التفكير الإبداعي. Because the main purpose is to write. الهدف إنه تتعلمين الكتابة وتتعلمين التحدث عن وظيفتك أو عملك، طبيعة العمل، مسمى العمل، الجهة التي تعملين فيها، والمهام التي تمارسينها في هذه الوظيفة. So this is the main point. So as I've told you, I'll send you this as homework on Blackboard. I have you to complete it before the deadline. يعني I'll set a deadline, so you have to send your answers before the time of the sending the task expires. Here we have another important point related to grammar. We use at with clock times. So the use of prepositions, particularly the preposition at. So you all know that at is what? Is a preposition. It is usually placed before time. So at 9 o'clock, at 9 a.m., 8 p.m., 5 p.m., and so on. What time does it start, begin, finish, and end? So to answer such questions, what time or when, because I have just told you that when is used to ask time, and another way to ask about time is to say what time does such and such start, begin, finish, end. So here we have examples. It starts at 9:15. Or you can say 9:15. This is how to state the time. 9:15. There are two ways to say 9:15 in English. You can either say 9:15 or 9:15. And before time, you use the preposition at. And notice here that the tense that's being used here is the present simple. So this is one of the uses of the present simple. In this case, you will use a present simple. You will notice that there is s added to the verb. The verb is basically is start, and there is s attached or added to the verb. Why? Because this is the present simple and the subject here is it. So with he, she, it, we add s or es to the verb. Another example, it begins at 8:30. So again, at, and there is s in the verb, 8:30. 8:30 8:30. There are two ways to say 8:30. You can either say 8:30 or 8:30. 8:30. Here, it finishes at 4 o'clock. So if it is 4 sharp with no minutes, before or after, you say 4 o'clock. This is the present simple. The subject is it, and that's why there is es. But why there is es, not only s? Sometimes and this point is very important. When do we use s? When do we use es? So you add es to the verb if the word ends with s, with sh, with ch, with o, or with x. If the word ends with one of these letters, you add es rather than simply s. The rest of words, letters, you add only s. So if you look at the verb here, it is finishes h. So in this case, we have added es rather than simply an s. All right, I hope that this point is clear. Another example, it ends at 5:05 or 5:05. الساعة 5:05. How to say it in English? You can say 5:05 or 5:05. So this is a rule. I'm sure that you must have studied this also in your in the past, either in high school or in intermediate or in school years. So this is a clock. Okay, we can divide it into two parts. In this part, in these minutes, you say past. In this part, if it is going this word, you say to. So if it is, for example, 7 o'clock, if it is 5 minutes, you can say 7 past, 7:15, 7:30, 7:20, and so on. But if it is going toward this part, you say 2. But of course, you would not say 7. So let's imagine that the indicator is here. You say 45 to 12:45. Like this example, we have a break at 12:45. يعني الساعة 12:45. There are two ways to say it. يعني ممكن تقولين 12:45 دقيقة 12:45 أو تقولين 1:45. like what we say in Arabic. طب how to say this وحدة إلا ربع? You say a quarter to 1. You can either say 12:45 or a quarter to 1. I hope that this point is also clear. Now listen and repeat the times with yourself. I will say each one of these mostly said in two ways. I will say them myself and listen carefully. Number 1, 7:05 or 5:07. Number 2, 6:45 or 6:45. Number 3, 8 o'clock. There is one way to say it. There is no other way. If it is sharp, you say just o'clock. Number 4, 10:45 or 11:15. Quarter معناها ربع. That's 15 minutes. Number 5, 4:35 or 4:35. Or sorry, 25 to 5. 6, you can say 2:15 or you can say 2:15. Number 7, 12 o'clock. Number 8, 9:50 or 10 to 10. I hope this point is clear. And I want you to listen and repeat the sentences. It finishes at 5 o'clock. It ends at 8 o'clock. It starts at 6 o'clock. So this is the point that I have just explained to you. If you want to talk about your job, you use what present simple, when to go, when you end your job, and these sort of things. And now we want to do this interesting task, number 6. Complete the sentences with the words in the box. So here we have 5 words. If you look at these words, they are basically what? Prepositions. At, in, for, from. So these words in English are called preposition. They are similar to what in Arabic? They are similar to اللي هي الحروف الجر. حروف الجر. But they are, specific uses. You should know when to use at, when to use for, when to use from, and so on. So we want to complete this reading with the appropriate preposition. I work in an office, Dubai. Dubai, this is a city. So what do you think? Which one is here is the appropriate one? At, in, for, from. So you will be using at 2 times. Here we have 5 blanks. We have to use at 2 times. So I work in Dubai. Actually, the correct preposition here is in. But I am Canada. So if you want to stay, from where do you come? We have been learning this since elementary school. So I'm from Saudi Arabia. So if you want to state from where do you come, you use the preposition, of course, from. From. I work SAB there. SAB, this is the name of a company. And I've told you that if you want to say that you work for such and such company or institution or your university or whatever, you say for. So I work for here. This is the right preposition. So I work for IBM, I work for Qasim University, I work for Ministry of Education, I work for such and such a school or business or company or so on. I start work. So which preposition? This is the one that we have just talked about. Time, clock. So 8:15 or a quarter past 8. So you would say at. And I have lunch in a cafe. Here we have also another at 1:30 or 1:30 and finishes about 5 o'clock. So this is how you to use prepositions. Now, this is a writing task. Try to do it in your own. I'm not going to send it to you as an assignment to Blackboard, but I want you to do it with yourself. I want you to write 3 sentences like these and talk about yourself and use the prepositions correctly. So you say, I work in an office or in a school, for example, in Qasim, but I am from Riyadh. I work, for example, for Qasim Directorate of Education, for example. I start work at 7:30 and have lunch in a cafe at 1:30 and finishes about 2 o'clock, for example. So follow this model paragraph and talk about yourself. If you are with me online, I'll give you time to complete the task and then I'll check your answers. But still, you can do it on your own and you should follow this main model paragraph. Let's move on. This is about spelling. Work in small groups, list the IT acronyms as you know. I have just talked about IT. I told you this is IT is an abbreviation of information technology. This is a very important word. It is called acronym. What's the meaning of acronym? It means when you take the first letter of a group of words and you group them together to form one word. For example, we have this HTML. HTML, this is an acronym. If your specialization is related to computer, so you should be quite familiar with this term. It is hypertext. So this H is hyper. So this H is this one. This T is this one. So we take the first letters only of hypertext mark language, and then we group them together as one word. So this group word letters is called acronym. Acronym. And there are common acronyms related to this field of technology and computer. You have to be very familiar with them. The most important and common one is IT. So whenever you hear IT, you have to understand that this stands for information technology. Other examples, HTML, which means hypertext markup language. And this is the definition of HTML term. This is a computer term. مصطلح يتعلق بالحاسب. HTML is a markup language used to describe the structure of a web page. اللي هي لغة صفحات الويب. HTML. And like HTTP also. URL. This is another common one, ارتباط web. FTP. It stands for File Transfer Protocol. So the F here stands for file, the T for transfer, the P for protocol. And what's the definition of this term? It is a standard network protocol used to copy a file from one host to another. Here we have a third term, WLAN, wireless local area network, a type of local area network that uses high-frequency radio wires to communicate between nodes. So the point here is that this W is taken from wireless, L from local, area, A from area, and network. And these words group together to form an acronym, which is a common term in the field of computer science. And what does this term mean? It is a type of local area network that uses high-frequency radio wires to communicate between nodes. Our common unit and lecture is very interesting because we will study some vocabulary related to computers. So these are some English letters, and I think that you are quite familiar with them. You are supposed to listen and repeat. A, H, J, K, B, C, D, E, G, P, T, V, Z. Z in British English it is pronounced as Z, but in American English it is pronounced as Z. You know, there is American English and British English, and there are few differences between them. I, Y, O, Q, U, W, R. And this is a very interesting task related to the point that we have just covered. Work in pairs, make a list of acronyms, ask and answer questions. What does HTML stand for? When you say that doesn't stand for, it means what does it mean? So think of other, acronyms and ask your colleague or yourself, what does this term stand for? Or when you come across any term, you have to ask yourself, what does it stand for? And we have this last page of the unit, business matters. You are at a training workshop. The trainer asks all the trainees to complete the form and introduce themselves. So like what I asked you to do in the first lecture, but you did it in a simple way, here in a more formal and detailed way. So this is a form that participants has to complete in a workshop, a training workshop. So you have to fill in this information. What information that you have to complete? Your name. For example, let us imagine a hypothetical name, Mary. Date, you state today's date. So you can say, my name is Mary, this is just Smith. That's the hypothetical name. Today's date is what? Today is 3rd of February. Date of birth, which means this is another abbreviation, date of birth. تاريخ الميلاد. Let's say she was born in, let's give also another hypothetical date. Hypothetical date, 1/7/2002. Let me make the font smaller. Place of residence, for example, let's say بريدة, Saudi Arabia. Contact phone number, here you say your phone number, and here your email. And interests, what are your interests? For example, reading, for example, designing, programming. These are interests related to computer. Managing, IT job you want to أنواع. IT job يعني information job that you want. We have already talked about some IT jobs, like for example, programmer, like developer, administrator, for example, data base analyst, for example, network architect. So these are a few examples, and there are more. You can also search the internet or the dictionary for more job names. And you say what and why. Why you are interested in this job? Why? Why do you like to be a programmer? You can say, for example, if you are an administrator, for example, because I like to lead, because I am good with numbers, because it is my hobby, because I like to work with computers, because it is my major. There are several reasons actually. These are just examples. So you have to fill in this form in your own with your own information. So you have to work in pairs. This is difficult. You can work on your own and answer these questions and create your profile and introduce yourself. Write an email message to introduce. Write an email message to introduce yourself to the employees in the company using the profile below or your own information. So this is homework. I'll give you also this one as homework. I'll send it to you on Blackboard. So write an email message to introduce yourself to the employees. إيش معنى employees؟ يعني موظفين الشركة. You can use this to guide you. You are an employee in a company. Your position is a network administrator. So this is your job, network administrator. You are responsible for setting up firewalls, جدار الحماية، إنشاء جدار الحماية. Security levels، مستويات الأمان. Wireless connection، اللي هو الاتصال اللاسلكي. Usernames and passwords. So these are your responsibilities as a network administrator. You set up passwords, usernames اللي هو الأسماء المستخدمين وكلمات المرور ونظام الحماية وجدار الحماية والاتصال اللاسلكي. So write an email. اكتبي رسالة إيميل. قدمي نفسك لموظفين الشركة. ممكن تستخدمين البيانات هذه المعلومات اللي في البوكس هذا Oh, you should not stick to this information. You can use your own information. If you're, for example, your job is something else, a programmer, for example, or a web page designer, or data analyst. So you state your job and list your responsibilities. So I'll be sending you this as homework on Blackboard as well. So you have to complete 2 assignments. And this last activity is a speaking activity. Work in Paris, student A, you are the IT help desk coordinator. Mrs. Mahmoud, turn to page 68, student you are Sharifa. So this is, well, actually, we are not concerned about this. I want you to look at this email message. This is a sample email message that you have to follow in order to complete this task. To complete this task, you can follow this email message. This is how email message looks like. So, dear Mrs. Mahmoud, comma, I am a new employee in finance. I need help with access to the company network. Please can you organize a training session for me? I'm free on Thursday after 2:30. Do I need to come to your office? Do you give certificates after the training? Thank you very much for your help. Sharifa. And then you state your name at the end of the email message. This is a sample. You should have, should not use the same information, use different information and do the task as required. This is the end of the lecture today and the end of the unit. I hope that everything is clear and understood. If you have any question, you can reach out to me via my email. I wish you the best of luck. Goodbye. See you on Wednesday, inshallah, at 5:30. Goodbye. Take care. Have a good time.